Hey everybody, welcome to Live on Wednesdays. Today we're talking about chronic inflammation and specifically about chronic inflammation because that is the more one that causes the most problems. Let's just put it that way, because acute will eventually go away. It is the chronic that stays and causes those lifelong, possibly, issues that we have to deal with. So what are some of the, just as a recap, what are some of the symptoms that you might experience, the common signs and symptoms of chronic inflammation? Because another word for chronic inflammation is slow, long-term inflammation. Basically, it's your acute inflammation that has just kept going and going and going and increased in intensity maybe, or just, keeps adding other things to it. So some of the things that you might experience with a chronic inflammation is body pain, arthralgia, myalgia, muscle pain, chronic fatigue and insomnia, depression, anxiety, and mood disorders. Gastrointestinal complications like constipation, diarrhea, acid reflux. And we're not talking about the occasional thing here. I mean, we all have that, but we're talking about a long-term issue with these types of symptoms. Weight gain or weight loss, and frequent infections. So it's interesting that chronic inflammatory diseases are the most significant cause of death in the world. Okay? So the World Health Organization, ranks chronic diseases as the greatest threat to human health. So you can see why it should be on everybody's radar or top priority to get a handle on inflammation, chronic inflammation. As we discussed before, acute inflammation is beneficial. It's something that our body needs to warn us about something that is wrong in the body. And that's what chronic inflammation is also. However, it just never goes away. It's like there's the stop or reset button is broke on it, so to speak. Okay? So what are we talking about here? What are some of the things that we are talking about as far as chronic inflammation is concerned? Now, we're talking about, well, before I get into that, let's talk about some of the things that cause it. What are some things that can cause chronic inflammation? We're talking about the failure of the body to be able, or of us, or of the environment, to be able to eliminate the agent, whether it's be in our body or our environment, that is causing the acute inflammation. So we're talking about things like parasites, fungi, protozoas, bacterium like tuberculosis, things like that they just stay in our body as a host for like this extended period of time. And then the body just becomes weakened to it. A second thing is that the exposure to a low level of a particular irritant or foreign matter cannot be eliminated by our body's enzymes to break it down, or by the phagocytes in our body. It's called a phagocytosis. That's the process where a white blood cell called a phagocyte engulfs whatever that particulate is, and then, ingests it, like it engulfs it, ingests it, and then it gets rid of it. It destroys it. So that process, somewhere along the way, is broken down. It's not happening. And that could include things like substances or industrial chemicals, maybe like in the air, environmental, that we inhale for a long period of time. Sometimes that, like an example might be silica dust. Very, very, very fine dust particles that can literally infiltrate through the most intense protection that you might have. What are some other things? There are autoimmune disorders, as most of us here might well be aware of. There are genetic defects or genetic disorders that contribute to inflammation. One of these might be familial Mediterranean fever. And it's just like any other kind of autoimmune disorder, so to speak, where you have flares with it. There's specific triggers, you have to watch it, but that's another reason for chronic, recurring, persistent inflammation. Recurrent episodes of acute inflammation. You know, if it's like the same thing all the time, like if you're having constant, what's a good example? Well, let's say like every month you're having some kind of a respiratory infection, or every month you're having a sinus infection. Those are acute inflammations, but they're recurring. So that should be kind of a warning sign that something's not right. There's something deeper than just a one-time event going on here. Also, another cause of inflammatory chronic inflammation is increased production of free radical molecules. So what kind of things are we talking about here when we say chronic inflammation? Well, I kind of hit the nail on the head when I mentioned the autoimmune disorders. But it deals with cardiovascular disease, cancers, diabetes, rheumatoid arthritis, or any arthritises and joint diseases, allergies of all different kinds, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, Alzheimer's disease, chronic kidney disease, and inflammatory bowel diseases. So there's all kinds of autoimmune disorders, right? And what are some other things that can contribute to these? Our age, as we get older, our ability to have more inflammatory conditions and molecules increases. Obesity, it definitely contributes to it. Our diet. Diet is huge because, you know, they say that you are what you eat, which there's some truth to that, but a bigger truth is you are what you absorb. Now that can go either way, because you can have a good diet and be absorbing all the nutrients and everything in your body, which is great, or you can have just a really unhealthy diet and still be absorbing all the yuckies of that. And so your body is going to reflect what you absorb. And even if you do have a healthy diet, there's no guarantee that you are absorbing everything you need to be absorbing from that diet, which is why it's a key to heal the gut so that you can absorb the optimal amount. Smoking. That is, of course, always something that can contribute to inflammatory conditions. Now, if you have low testosterone or low estrogen, these can also suppress the production and secretion of pro-inflammatory markers. And by maintaining normal levels of those hormones, it reduces the risk of having several inflammatory diseases. So, those are just a few tidbits about what causes chronic inflammation, why it's important to get a handle on it, because clearly it impacts our health throughout the world. I mean, as that the WHO, World Health Organization, had indicated, it is chronic inflammatory diseases are a major cause of death throughout the world. And it's just going to continue to increase. So get a handle on it now. Don't wait until it's way off the charts, because then it's even harder to manage. Best to do it when you first see signs of it and not be waiting. Now, be preventative, friends. Be preventative with anything that you can. It is the best route to be able to manage your health. So, there you have it. I hope you're having a great day today, and go enjoy the rest of it. Bye now.